Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Watchalong. And we have a good one today. We're watching Brentford versus Arsenal. And who better to have with us? I think Mecca is going to be joining us too, but who better to have with us than the Brentford fan for us American Scouser, Glenn? Glenn, what's happening, man?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Looking forward to this. Should be a really good game. We'll both be supporting the same team today,
Yeah.
obviously. So that'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm excited. There's a little bit of rotation that we weren't necessarily expecting in the Arsenal 11, and we've had a couple players. Well, Flecken specifically and Vandenberg in the centre of defence who have come back into the lineup, which is huge because Flecken went off injured at Brighton after a really strong 30 minutes in goal. He made a couple of amazing saves. And I think it looked like he injured his groin. He a cross took a deflection and would have gone in if he hadn't totally reorientated his body. But in doing that, it definitely looked painful. So I wasn't expecting him to start today at all. They kept that under, I think they kept that a little bit under wraps. They weren't really sure, I think, whether he'd make it. So to have our first choice goalkeeper who's been playing brilliantly, starting against Arsenal, and to have, as you know, you'll be familiar with, of course, Sepp van den Berg, and to have him back after a couple of games out, that's huge because we've got nobody else left. Most of our defense.
How has he done for you guys? I haven't watched him a lot, but how was Van der Berg been? Has
He's been really
worth
good.
the price tag? Let me ask you that way.
Yeah, I think so. In a way that Carvalho hasn't really been able to demonstrate. He hasn't quite found his place in this team, whether that's like position wise, whether it's performance wise. Like he hasn't had the opportunity. Whereas Van den Berg, with our injuries at left and right back, which are long-term injuries, he's slotted straight in. So he's usually played right back for us, but he's come into centre back this evening, which is his preferred position. So I'm really pleased to see them starting up front. Same old duo, Mbumo and Wissa, which is exciting. One of the best combinations in the division. I think most fans of the Premier League would agree with that. And then we've gone a bit more robust in midfield, right? We brought in Yarmoluk, who's a young Ukrainian player, product of our B team. He's coming in place of Sharda. So often we've played three up front, right? With Wissa through the middle, Sharda left, and Mbumo right. But we've actually slightly changed up the formation. Thomas Frank said in his pre-match interview a few minutes ago that he's really trying to strengthen that midfield, which makes sense, right? It's Arsenal. You're playing a team that loves pockets of space, that has players like Odegaard, who are some of the best in the world at what they do. So I like it. And we've got Mikhail Damsgaard kind of, if you see, kind of just floating in between. Classic creative role there. That'll be exciting for him, I think, to have the freedom of the channels in between the centre mids and the forwards. So, strong lineup. Tactically, I agree. And apparently there's a little bit of flu going around the Arsenal camp, a little illness the last day or two. So interesting that Havertz is out of the squad, Rice is on the bench. Now, this could be rotation from Arteta, but it could also be a product of some sickness. So I am feeling much more positive since I saw the lineups than I did yesterday.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask that. That should be. Mecca joins us. Mecca, what's happening? How was the New Year's?
I like to work 8 or so. It was just a late morning for me, for once. That was good.
Hey, Mecca.
I know. I feel like, this is a game that I would normally watch anyway, probably because it's Brentford. And I know they're normally, it's a fun team to watch. They play open. I guess my biggest fear going into this game. So I'm glad your regular goalie is back. My biggest fear is, them making something stupid in the back, falling behind early, and kind of like opening the door to Arsenal. That's probably like my biggest fear going into this game. Otherwise, last game was the first time you guys lost points at home. Is that right?
Yeah, that was. Nottingham Forest came and they were really good. Credit to them. They were a brilliant team. They were really solid defensively. They were really positive on the break, and they actually played the Brentford way. It was really funny to watch a team allow us to dominate possession more, and they would just hit us on the break with players like Alanga, who are just quality. And honestly, defensively, I haven't seen a team that good in a long time in the Premier League who just looks so well coached. Nuno's really got his tactics right at the back with them. And I think they switched to a back five for the first time in the season. So they actually adapted to coming to the G-Tech. And it's not often you lose a game and sometimes you're just like honest. You can blame the referee, you can blame the manager, you can blame the players. This was one of those games where I said, you know what, credit to Forest. There's a reason they're in the top four because they're a damn good team. And I bet better team won on the day. And we didn't put in a bad performance. We attacked, but they were way too solid at the back. So credit to them. And it's good to see a different team having a strong season, to be honest. It's quite refreshing not to just be beaten by the usual teams.
Arsenal in the box, crossing it. Get the hell out of there. Mecca, what is your early prediction for this game? Especially now that, we've seen like the lineups.
I think the Arsenal lineup seems a little bit arrogant almost, not having Rice in there and I think Trossard. So I've been feeling Brentford could do something here.
I was actually hopeful going into this, but like I say, my biggest fear was Brentford just, considering a silly goal, not like from open play or anything like that. Obviously, Arsenal and set pieces and stuff like that. But I was just more worried about them doing something in the build-up. Jesus is down. Even when he's injured, he normally has the built-in whiny face. So obviously when he's injured, it only gets amplified.
I mean, how does that marriage work for him? Like, honey, you won tonight, and fancy some sexy time. There must be an awful lot of trust in that marriage.
Yeah, that was a bad dive. It was just going out.
Yeah, early Arsenal pressure though, right? First couple minutes played in our box.
I think the thing about the set pieces,
so UK.
I think the thing about the set pieces, though, is we all know what Arsenal are doing now. There's no variation. Like, it's not some sort of super flexible, there's 5 different triggers depending on the situation. They're just going to crowd the keeper and send it in.
Yeah.
I think people have started to figure that part out now.
Yeah, and actually, the team that really figured it out. Oh, good on the break here from Brentford.
Great ball. That was a good ball.
Great keep. Bumo had a tap in at the back post there. Monaco were the team that figured it out first, right? And their trick was leaving a couple of extra men forward. So they didn't allow as many Arsenal players into the box because they just pushed a couple of their forwards and said, okay, you stay on the halfway line. And that was a really clever way of disrupting what has been a pretty, consistent and comfortable corner routine from them. And as you said, Macca, it's back to basics. You've got a load of tall players. You crowd the keeper. You block off defenders, right? The dark arts, what they do. It's not.
It's schoolboy corners. Like that's what it is. It's not. We always say schoolboy defending, but that's like what you do at U12 level.
Yeah.
The goalkeeper's 4'2", and you've got early developing like midfielders and strikers. Just stick them up front. Just stand on top of the keeper and then hope for the best.
The funny thing is, you're more old school, Mecca. This shit would not fly. Oh, that was close. This shit would not fly. I don't know. Maybe 5 years ago, where you couldn't even sneeze next to the goalies.
Yeah,
now you can just hang off of them and stuff. Like everything is a free go though.
You think about them, and then it's a free out. But that's a good thing to see. Is that that there's been a bit more leniency towards the attackers and corners, so that because it gets ridiculous sometimes with any touch on the keeper.
Oh, I'll be honest. Brentford defender over there, that I don't know who that is, but that was kind of like that
was a clumsy tackle, wasn't it?
Right? Yeah. Jesus, if he was normally, Jesus would go down with that one, and if he goes down, I know he's like all the way away from danger, but that could be a penalty because like zero contact on the ball.
As I keep saying in the Discord channel, players are stupid. I don't know why they think they're not going to invite some sort of dive, at least, if not a foul, by bumping into players in the box.
Yeah, I'm torn on that, because, we don't want them to dive, but then when they don't do what you consider the professional acts, it's like, dude, what are you doing? But at the same time, when they dive, like, Gordon used to do and stuff nonstop, then we were like, he's a diver and stuff. So I'm always torn on that. It's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Mm-hmm. Good defending here from Ruslev. You see Martinelli try and go on his outside down the wing, throwing some step overs, and he just shepherds it out for a goal kick. So, it'd be good. Ruslev put in a really good performance against Brighton, excellent performance. And he's been seen pretty much as a weak link in our defensive team. He's, seemed to be not quite meeting the standards of maybe that you'd hope, right, from a Premier League right back. So it was really good to see him have a positive game, and he's going to have hard work. As we know, Martinelli, when he's firing, is one of the more dangerous wingers in the Premier League. You know, he had that
He
season.
has not been himself, though.
No, he's not. He's not been for a while. Was it early last season or the season before? But he was on fire, wasn't he? And he was scoring loads of goals. He was clinical. He was so good, beating players on the inside and outside. And as you said, yeah, he hasn't really had that confidence or maybe even that trust from Arteta in recent months. So if he picks up speed, Ruslev is definitely a player he'd want to run at all night long. So it's really great to see Ruslev start strong early on and you know push him out the way there.
We all know that I'm a huge fan of Thomas Frank on the podcast and all that, but does anybody else think he looks like somebody who, as soon as the final whistle is on, he's going to go out and sell some MDMA to some teenagers?
Why hasn't Thomas Frank? I mean, he's been a guy that's rumored with every single job, but has not been in the final conversation. Why do you guys think that?
He doesn't want to be.
He's picky.
He's happy at Brentford. I don't. Some of the conversations he's been involved in. What have we seen at Man United in the previous couple of weeks? At this minute in time, if you ask Ruben Amorim, would you prefer to still be at Sporting or would you prefer to be in the bottom third or wherever you are in the Premier League? I would lean towards he probably would have a little bit of buyer's remorse with this transfer. I think Thomas Frank's had a few offers or he's been in the picture, as you've said, and he just hasn't shown the mutual interest. I think clubs have been interested in him. It will be very interesting when he does decide now is the time to progress his career, whether that's the end of this season, maybe the next season would be ideal. Hopefully not this summer. Then, you know, when a big team comes calling, it'll be interesting. But I'd like to think maybe he'll go to a Bayern or he'll go to a big club in Europe that isn't an English Premier League mess, essentially. And the autonomy and trust he has to operate here at Brentford, I mean, to have the relationship he does with Matthew Benham, our owner, and it's just like they are so on the same page, transfer-wise, player development-wise, selling-wise. You just don't get that kind of freedom and trust at so many of these corporate clubs, right? It's just you know, it's just a disaster. And United, for example, I mean, it's just a total mess right now with Ashworth going, and then obviously the new managers come in. That's not an environment that he probably wants to enter. He's put in so much work at Brentford. You know, when I was living in England in Brighton, he'd just become our manager back in 2018, that would have been. And, you know, he's still there now, 6 years on. So he's got a project he loves here. He loves the fans. He loves the environment. I think my point is it will take something very special and for the conditions to be as similar as possible for him to move on. He doesn't want to go to a Chelsea or a United or any of these messy corporate clubs. It's not his style.
I think he has the luxury to wait, though, right, Mecca? I mean, because I don't blame him because you know how it is. I mean, one day you're the hot manager everybody wants to get. Corner kick, by the way. Oh. But then, you know, the next day you have one poor season and then you never hear from again. Whereas he took his opportunity to come to United. Let's face it, even if the United thing is a disaster, like look at Ten Hag. I don't think, you know, everybody knows that United has bigger issues than the manager. So I don't think you're tarnishing your manager name a lot by doing that.
I mean, I think the one club that he could be at, that he would get everything he has at Brentford, is currently top of the league, and we have a nice, tasty, bald Dutch manager running us. But that like relationship where he gets to coach, I think that's what Thomas Frank is. He's a coach. He doesn't have. He's not spoiled by that ex-professional type thing where they have to be at the biggest club and they have to be in charge of everything. So I think a club where he gets to just coach would probably suit him. And unfortunately, the Premier League top 6 club that still that we're flying. Yeah. As much as I like Thomas Frank, we're flying. We don't need him. But I think I think he maybe, if he's like aware of the situations and you know always analysing, he probably saw what happened with Nuno Espirito Santo at Spurs, like turfed out before the season even ended. And so he's probably going to be very picky about that. And maybe he wants to be at a club, if he for his next step has to be like a Dortmund or something like that is looking to get back to greatness, as opposed to a club that's already there. Like Manchester United would suit him in terms of their current status, because he's a good man to turn a club around. But as Glenn said, it's an absolute mess.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Ruben Amorim walked in on day one, and then day two was like, crap.
I mean, he could have been like, wait, you guys spent all this money and this is what we're getting over here, kind of a deal. But I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, you can kind of almost tell that it's the complete opposite with Slots, where he was, oh, this could be dangerous here. Well cleared. Like he was more pleasantly surprised with the overall quality and what he has, whereas Amarim goes over there and be like, yikes, like this is a bigger job than I thought. It wasn't only Ten Hag kind of a deal.
Yeah, it's the opposite. And for me, the United met, I mean, there's a million different reasons, but the recruitment for me,
nice
great break from Brentford here with Wissa. That was he fouled?
That's what I was hoping for. But...
No, maybe not. Yeah, it's just the recruitment. And what's really unfortunate for Amarin is, as you said, the opposite of Slot. Slot plays a certain expansive style that's really exciting, but is also strong defensively. The Liverpool squad he inherited, as we know, with Mbeumo with a shot. Oh, what a finish!
Wow, that came out of nowhere. And this is the thing with Brentford. Shit can come out of nowhere. I'm like worried about, when we go away there for I think like in 2-3 weeks.
What a finish. He's been doing that all season. He's been doing that since I was watching him in the Championship. He cuts inside. He hits a low, hard shot. David Raya would have seen him score many of them when he was playing for us, of course, over the years. So it's amazing how Mbeumo can just cut inside and just hit these really quick, low backlift shots straight into the corner. Look at this breakdown. Look at this transition. It's a fantastic interception. I think that's Damsgaard who intercepts the ball, who plays the pass. And look, he's kind of wide. He's on the edge of the box. There's not a huge amount of danger until he starts dribbling.
I think that's all right. Isn't it? I mean...
You mean the goalkeeper that's better than Quiveen Kelleher? That right?
Wow.
Fuck, I knew we were going to go there. Jesus.
That's my New Year's gift to Gally and Bicker. But that's poor
finish.
Yeah, I don't know why is he there? Like the angle that Glenn is talking about. Why is he in the middle? Like he's the. If you look at Raya, and if I told you put the ball where it's at on the pitch, you would put it somewhere in the middle, not in the corner of the box over there. So that's just bad positioning.
Yeah, poor from the left back as well, because the one thing you don't want, Mbeumo started that pass from Damsgaard. It was an excellent pass and pushed him just out wide of the penalty area, right? And he, unfortunately, because they stepped off him, he had enough time to look up, start dribbling. And the one thing you don't want as a defender to be backtracking, right, when Brian Mbeumo's dribbling towards you, because he can go inside, he can go outside, and as we said, he can shoot at a second's notice, and he hits hard, accurate shots. And Ray won't be happy with that, but when all said and done, that is the bottom corner, and it is a snapshot, right? I don't think we expected him to shoot right at that second. So excellent goal. What a breakaway. And for Damsgaard to make the interception.
I would argue that if you're a goalkeeper, you should be expecting that shot in the bottom corner. That's how you.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I think it doesn't reflect well. That's for sure.
What it tells me is that he didn't trust the defender on his back post because it looked like he was cheating towards.
Yeah, because if I'm a left back there, to be fair to him, I'm like, okay. I mean that the shot taken from there, unless it's a worldie, you should not trouble the goalkeeper because it's coming from that angle. Oh, this could be dangerous again.
Yeah, Brentford on the...
And this is the ideal scenario right here where Arsenal is in panic mode and Brentford's, got their tail up. A lot can happen here. Yeah, that wasn't a foul.
It's been a really, as I said, we saw the lineups, right? It just had a lot more positivity when we saw the Arsenal changes. Who are they missing? Declan Rice. That's who they're clearly missing in midfield right now.
Right. I mean, this is going to show, I think, again, like Saka being like a big miss for them.
Hugely.
But hasn't Trossard been playing well for them as well?
I don't think it's the same guy, though. I mean, I go back to sometimes when Trossard is effective over there because they're worried about Saka on the other side. You know what I mean? Similar to what Mo can do, even when he's not in the game sometimes, where you're so worried about him. Everybody's mind is on that side that it helps the other guys be a bit more open.
Unless that other guy is Nunes, which we don't know.
No. You started the new year hot.
It is Wednesday. I'm just getting ready for tomorrow night.
Yeah, plenty of movement. So Arsenal, what they've done, right? They've had a lot of possession tricks and inverted movements in and around our penalty area, but they haven't been able to force a clear chance from that so far. We've been good at it's been concerning, and they've got in behind us a couple of times, but they haven't been able to fashion a particularly good chance from all this possession. This is Arsenal. What do we expect? But they look very dangerous, and I think they're going to score today, if not a couple, but they haven't been able to quite convert that into clear-cut chances yet. But Jesus has started pretty lively. They all look up for it, the Arsenal players.
That could be... this will go to VAR. I don't know. It looks ugly from far away. I don't know if the studs are up or not, but...
So there's Timber going in. Let's see the replay.
You don't know these days.
Yeah.
He went for the foot. The ball. He went for the foot that the ball wasn't on. That's what.
Yeah, I think he yellowed.
That's why I would want to look at it again if it was VAR.
I think they try to see, like, I feel like his left foot, it's on the ground, so that one, the studs are not up. But the other one, the studs are up and into the ankle. I mean, that could have.
Yeah, it gives the referee. I'm surprised. Well, they've obviously looked at it. We haven't seen on the screen yet how long they spent. But yeah, it was worthy of another look. Although sometimes those tackles, right? I know that wasn't a particularly good example of a good one, but the second you slow it down and you look from 3-4 angles, of course it looks bad. I just don't like seeing players sent off. I mean, we had Christian Norgard sent off at Everton, and it wasn't a similar tackle. He was going to score and he clattered Pickford by accident. But I don't know. I'm just not really a fan of of red cards when it's kind of 50-50. With that said, João Pedro, you probably both saw, he waved his elbow around, right?
Yeah.
So that to me, I was very surprised. And a lot of people watching the game and online afterwards were surprised that wasn't given as a red card, because as people said, if you throw a punch and you miss, well, the intent's there. He threw an elbow.
Yeah.
And the whole confusion was, did he know Yarmouk wasn't going to be there? But it was such a strange thing to do. And it seemed
who would be elbowing his imaginary friend?
I
mean, he was literally elbowing somebody there. But...
Yeah, and I know you can't really compare them like for like, but for me, that was more of a case where I was like, well, he probably should be sent off. Whereas this Timber tackle, I'm like, he's probably a little bit over enthusiastic and he's mistimed it. So I think a yellow is probably just about fair there, to be honest.
Yeah, I see some of these tackles and I don't like the cards because I just envision myself, Mecca, back in the day. If that was the case, I'd be getting reds left and right.
Who said you didn't, Timuchin? Who said you didn't? We don't know.
There are no witnesses.
What I was going to say, what we'll say though is this is what worries me about Brentford is they're trying to play out the back.
Yeah,
and they're not really. Your team isn't really equipped to do that, Glenn, at that level against that kind of opposition.
Yeah.
Whereas you already know your front line can rip that Arsenal back far apart. So that's where the goal is going to come from for Arsenal. It's going to be a bad back pass, or not bad back pass, a bad movement. In that play now from the back, and it shouldn't be that because they have to pour forward now to get a goal.
I know it's your pet peeve with the building from the back because Mecca is old school. Just put it in the back.
It's not building from the back. It's building from the back in all circumstances. That's that.
Yeah,
you
that's
have
true.
To read the game and read the opposition. And if you're Brentford playing against Arsenal, who are experts at it, why shoot yourself in the foot trying to do that when you can attack them by just going at their back four?
Yeah, and quick counters.
Yeah,
that's where they're going to be vulnerable. And I agree. Obviously, this is what cost Russell Martin his job, as we've all discussed on the Premier League panel. I mean, that was and Mecca, right? You have to have the players to be able to do that. That's the key thing. It's like it's got to be. It can't be a 100% thing. It's got to be a circumstantial thing. But you've also got to have the quality of players to be able to do that. And I'd argue some of our players, like Ruslev would come to mind, like don't really have that exceptional quality on the ball and composure. You need composure from your goalkeeper across your back four. And Brentford can occasionally do it, but you're right that Arsenal are so quick to latch onto errors. Think how fast their front three are. They'll be on you in a heartbeat, and it's going to be really challenging to to keep that up for 90 minutes without making an error. Yeah, happy New Year to Ryan as well. Great to see you watching.
Ryan back in action. I mean, I don't know, this is probably the ideal scenario the other way because Brentford is so dangerous on the counters. You can say, hey, yeah, I mean, Arsenal's going to pressure, but you can see Brentford getting it. Some teams, like, you would never see them getting the seconds, but I can see
Everton.
Brentford, getting a second on the counter. So,
Oh yeah, and we want a second. Look at Wissa going in. Look at us. So we're pressing high as well, right? Look at the Arsenal centre back midfielder just had it, and 3 Brentford players were on them within a couple of seconds. So we're playing the pressing game just as much as Arsenal are, and yeah, I think they're equally vulnerable as well to being caught in possession, maybe not passing it around at the back as much, but maybe in midfield. How did our goal come about? We made a quick interception in midfield and in transition. That was a goal within about 5 seconds. So that's where we're and getting Damsgaard on the
dangerous.
ball.
Oh, man.
It's unlucky. Damsgaard has been. It's amazing to have players like Collins, who's been amazing. We've talked about him, Maka. We've got Mbumo
because he's Irish.
Yeah, because he's the Irish captain. But to have players who have genuinely been as exceptional as them. But for me, Mikhail Damsgaard is head and shoulders the best player of the season for us. I mean, he's been as good as when we had Ericsson. He really has hit those heights this season, and we've seen him do it just today. I think he's been absolutely incredible. And I think the sign of a good player like Saka, like Rodri, is their absence. And, when we rested Damsgaard at the first 70 minutes of the Carabao quarter-final at Newcastle, we were just toothless. We rested a few players, but Damsgaard, as soon as Damsgaard stepped onto the pitch, we were lethal again. We were good. We scored. Same with Mbumo. So for me, to see Damsgaard go from a player with, perpetual injuries and being so out of form to being this creative genius that he is, I mean, he makes make any midfield look slow or average the way he can just create things. So it's been amazing. So he's a player for people, watching along or watching the game themselves, just to keep your eye on his movements and his passing, because he's been exceptional for us.
Ryan says, I feel like for Arsenal to put out the real title bid, they need to win this one and the next one against Brighton. I don't think they'll do it. I think the problem that, Mecca Arsenal is in right now is you can't afford anything. And I think that's 10 times more pressure. Like, you can be Liverpool. There's a title pressure, people chasing you. But, that is a great ball. Fucking hell. But I think it's one of those where they can't. I mean, one draw and you could be considered out of it because, it's 1 week further and now you're like 11 points behind.
Yeah. And that's going to be the case. Yeah, that's going to be the case for a lot of the teams. It'd be interesting to see Chelsea stumble in the. I was on our Premier League panel. I've been backing Chelsea a lot more so than Jamie, our Chelsea expert, because I've just loved everything I've seen from them. But he's the fan, right? He's correct.
Well, he knew something, yeah.
That's because he watches them every week. But yeah, I totally agree. And when you have a team. It's usually Man City, but this season, thankfully for us and this channel, it's Liverpool. When you have a team that's looking that good and isn't dropping points, it's so easy for those gaps to emerge. As Ryan said in the comment, right? You need to beat Brentford away. You need to beat Brighton away, and they're hard places to go. The GTEC especially is a fortress in this division, and Brighton's a hard place to go as well. We were delighted. We got a point against them, as I've alluded to couple of days ago, and it was a great point. I was delighted to get a draw there because Brighton they're not really in form at the minute. Clearly, they couldn't score against us, but it's a hard place to go. So the second you're under pressure and you have to go to places like Brentford and Brighton, it's really hard. We don't give you an easy game, that's for sure.
Yeah, the Brentford game is tricky in the sense that, like I say, the disaster scenario can happen in terms of Brentford, where you can win the ball up top with good press, timely press. Like, that's a game that I would probably that is, yeah, he called that. That is like a game that's, you start with either Jota or Diaz in the middle. So you do you need a solid press to be happening. But I mean, if this game ends like this, Arsenal ends up becoming 9 points behind with Liverpool having a game in hand. And that, even the most, I was actually watching Arsenal TV the other day. There was like a clip from it, and this dude over there is the ultimate optimist. It's like, I'm not worried at all. And I was like, you should probably be worried because there's a lot of point difference too. Like, I know I would be worried if if it was flipped. Well, I guess I'll ask you, Mecca, if it was flipped, if we had Arsenal's points and Arsenal was ahead, would you have a lot of title hope?
No, in our situation, I would be happy that we were up that close, and we'd all be rationalising it being, Slot taking over a great manager, and
Yeah.
next year's going to be our year, kind of a thing. But I read this years ago, and I can't remember which way. I might have been some sort of like article, like kind of compared for almost like for our website here and for our channel, almost like explaining soccer to American sports fans, kind of a deal, like talking about like strength of schedule and all that kind of stuff.
Ooh, hanging on
It's
for dear
getting
life, but
closer.
it was offside. He looked off. Go ahead.
But like basically, if you look at the game, if you just apply 1 point per game for every game that's in the season, because everybody starts off at 0-0 like every game, it's essentially a 9-game swing that needs to happen.
Yeah,
it's that kind of situation, and then the less games you have, the more crucial that swing becomes.
Yep.
So I think our pressure is a different pressure. But that cushion is so psychologically damaging to everybody else that any loss, that if Arsenal lose today, if they draw against Brighton, say, that becomes more crushing because you see the opportunity disappear, and especially once you get over the halfway point, which we are at now. So, and I don't fancy Arsenal to not be bottle jobs.
Oh, in the
good
box.
Good chance here.
Is that in? Oh, dude, he almost freaking took that in.
Ray is not having a good game at all.
Conversation. Oh man,
I think that was Keane Lewis Potter cutting inside. Great, powerful shot. Raya kind of. It was too hard for him. Really, it almost rolled over the line because he deflected it back, but he scrambled back, clawed it away, and wow, that's one of the better chances we've seen.
I mean, that could have been, if this game becomes 2-0, it's going to be extremely interesting. But no, I mean, I was talking about this in the post-match video I did for like West Ham. I realized you don't win titles in December or whatever, but you know what? Yeah, I mean, like Macca, you're saying you're pushing it a week. Oh, in the box. What I worry is there's a lot of action going on in the box over there where it's going to be a card, like a penalty or something like that.
Ooh, good save.
Oh, what
is that? It 1-1,
and it's in.
It's 1-1 because Brentford wouldn't clear the ball.
Yes.
You watch it back, they're all trying to get possession of it and then try and build out instead of just walloping it out and getting reorganized. That's why I hate playing out from the back. It paralyzes it.
So who has the shot? It was a pretty strong shot from someone edge of the box, and then Flecken makes the save, and Jesus follows up with a header into the open net. He scores again. He's been very clinical this entire month.
Yeah, there's multiple opportunities over there. Like that pass.
It's in Brumo. It's in Brumo. You're absolutely right, Macca. It's Brian Brumo.
Is he off?
He's not off, but he would have been if that defender had pushed up with the rest of his line.
Oh, okay, that's why.
So there's mistakes everywhere, really, here. Oh, yep, somebody's slow to push up. That is a really poor goal to concede.
Before the final shot came in and before the header, they're all facing their own goalkeeper, the Brentford players.
It's a shame that Flecken couldn't push it further out of the box, right? You see what I mean? He's kind of, unfortunately, it's a bit of a slight error there because he's actually kind of palmed it more centrally. So two poor goals from a goalkeeping perspective and from defensively in general.
I'm gonna do a hard disagree on that because I hear that an awful lot from people talking about goalkeepers deflecting the ball as if they always have a choice where that ball is going to go. Like it's not a planned thing. You know what I mean? There's a physics component to it.
I know, but if you look at the angle the shots come, you know, he has still kind of parried it into Jesus' path. Where if his palms have been a little bit stronger, I appreciate it's
my question would be: we've seen it from the top end. Like, what was his vision of it when the shot was taken?
It's harsh. Don't get me wrong.
It's not always the case that I'm only saying this simply because we had this discussion as Liverpool fans tons of times about Simon Mignolet. Because he always seemed to deflect the ball into other players' paths from the opposition. But you can't always do it. Like
you can't always do it. But that's like a defender clearing the ball towards the box, towards the middle, as opposed to clearing it wide. You can't always do it. The situation, the ball is coming and stuff. But if it's happening repeatedly, I'm not saying for this incident, but it's happening repeatedly, then there is a flaw in your technique.
Oh, yeah, I think clearing the ball towards the box, Timothy, and I think you're still remembering Skirtle.
But I guess the bigger point is there were loads of, it doesn't come to
tons of
Flacco.
errors.
There was
Yeah.
so many. The guy playing him on side, you're spot on, Maka. You picked up really quickly that Mbeumo was awful in terms of trying to overplay it from the edge of the box. And you've called this for the first 30 minutes of the game. That's precisely how they scored. We had 3 or 4 chances to clear that. Yeah, it didn't land particularly well from Flecken, but it is what it is, really, kind of thing at that point. It was a really strong shot from Partey.
They're going to do it again.
Yeah.
Although now it's a...
What the fuck?
That was ambitious.
That was beyond ambitious.
I think that was a shot from within our own box from Wissa.
Now, to be fair play to him for thinking of it, because a lot of players wouldn't, but
execution was lacking.
Even Xavi Alonso wouldn't have got that from that.
Yeah, you got to be at least
the king of the
midfield.
halfway line.
I mean, holy cow.
But this is the thing, like the difference between the top class and the league players, and then every other player at the top level is just that like little bit of intelligence. It's almost like an IQ point difference, but it's so important to have that one IQ point extra, because it's not fitness; they're all as fit as each other, except for Chiesa and Thiago.
He's ill.
He's ill in the legs.
Just the sniffles.
But it's such a sliding doors moment, and that the elite players just pick that was so close.
Wow, just a replay, VAR over the line. Look at the one that Reyes spilt, and he did well to recover it. He actually fixed his own error there because it's gone straight through his hands.
Yeah, he should do better with that one.
Oh wow! So he's actually done really well to rescue
me. Spencer says Jesus is their team now.
No, that's not what he said. That's not what he said to Mooch. He said Jesus is
their team.
Evangelizing on day one.
By the way, when I first came to the US, we had, I was like, I'd always talk like my retail days, and I was like in the suburbs initially, but then I went to Chicago, so obviously there's a lot of like Hispanic team members, and as a Turkish guy, I'm not familiar with like Hispanic names. So there was this kid named Jesus who worked in receiving, and I did not know like anything about Jesus. So I'm literally calling this kid Jesus like the first week. I'm like, hey, Jesus, can you do a pickup over there? And then like the kid, I'm the new assistant manager. Like he doesn't want to correct me or be like rude or whatever, He's like, whatever, he'll eventually figure it out. But yeah, I called that poor kid Jesus the first week. Like, Jesus here. Jesus, you got a copy? Yeah.
The best thing I can say about this game is that Brentford look just as much scoring a second as Arsenal do. That's how even it is.
It's open, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, it's not in possession terms. The stats won't show that, but in territory and chances, I wouldn't be happy or comfortable as an Arsenal fan or player right now. If Brentford can get out of their own way with those defensive clearances and get them out of the box, then they might be onto something.
Yeah, we're actually restricting ourselves from making these quick breaks because we're overplaying it at the back. It means we're actually not getting it. The transitions are breaking down. I mean, we're trying it here again.
Yeah,
you mean that's exactly what happened. We've
not even giving him a chance really to create some kind of a chaos.
But from a Brentford perspective, it is concerning how Arsenal are more and more frequently getting it, behind, playing around the box.
I think it's Mbeumo, is that how you say his name?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's dropping back in to be part of the defensive wall, which is clearly a plan because he's doing it so often. But if they just left him up, you've instantly told Arsenal to leave an extra defender back because he's going to destroy your team if he gets a run on you.
Yeah, you've read my mind. He's defending deeper than I'd be expecting, and we're trying to crowd them out around our own box, right, in our defensive third. But then we don't have an out ball, which is slightly puzzling. And it also leads us to overplay it. The reason we gave away that equalizer is because Brian's defending in our final third. He should be up the pitch.
Yeah.
Thomas Frank was taking orders there, just so everybody knows. He was taking orders for the post-match disco party.
That's one thing as a defender. Sometimes I hate it. Is like, dude, I appreciate your helping, but sometimes you're making things worse.
Yeah.
When, like, attacker comes back to help defend, like giving up penalties and stuff like that. Corner kick for Brentford. Let's do this. Let's not do that.
Ooh,
Yeah,
That was all types of woeful.
Horribly
that
executed.
was a waste.
Wait, that was the goal scorer taking the corner. I never understand that. I'm old school. Put the fullbacks on the corners.
I think my favorite is when Harry Kane was taking corners for England.
Yeah.
that was the best example of that.
That's probably
Drove the country mad. Drove the country.
He probably thought he could run into the box quick enough to get his own header.
Spencer says we'll love to see Arsenal drop points either today or Saturday against Brighton away when we'll take a draw. I think so. Like, if they lose some points, because I mean Liverpool's going to eventually drop points here and there. I mean, you have like this game ourselves. We have Forest away after like United home, so it is going to be. There's going to be games we drop points. So, but I guess that's my thing. I just don't see any other team right now consistently getting the win.
No, it was Chelsea for a bit, but that has.
See, I can tell you, like when Chelsea was close, and like Liverpool fans were losing their minds because it went from like 9 points to 2 points or whatever. I kind of knew that Chelsea just did not have the moment the talk became that was going to be too much pressure for them when they have to win. I think there's something to be said about just going out there and doing your thing and not, being under pressure. By the way, if you're on Facebook and just posting like worthless links, you're just going to get deleted and blocked. So you're just wasting your time. More importantly, you're wasting my time. So don't.
But not mine and Glenn, so it's okay.
Yeah, we don't have to do anything. We're fine. We're watching the game.
Yeah, Spencer says he knew that Chelsea would fall off. I mean, that's the thing. I just did not see them consistently winning too. The only thing they had going for themselves was the fact that their European games are a lot easier, and they can literally rotate players like very easily and stuff. But like say it's a bit about mindset on like a title race too. There's something to be said about being in there and having the experience to be in a title race.
I think I mean as much as the Maresca seems to have found his team, he still has like 400 other cast members to be taken into account. So he's going to have to rotate at some point to keep a good chunk of his team happy. So that consistency was going to get lost somewhere. Whereas we're quite steady who we can play. Arsenal, with the injuries, they can't. That they're a core team with some extras.
Yes.
Whereas everybody, like this is the great thing that slot was left with. Everybody on that Liverpool team is an important part of the machine. There's no real, even Endo is an important part of the machine as much as of a super sub as he is. He's been there. He was part of trophy winning campaign. He was part of a team that was aiming for 4 trophies at one point. Whereas the Chelsea team, it's Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
Nicholas Jackson, that's it. And then a cast that would make Cecil B. DeMille jealous. It's one for the oldies.
Well, 40th minute, 1-1. Normally we would take it. I just felt like, especially when Brentford took the lead, now it feels like Arsenal has regained the momentum back. For like 5 minutes after the goal, it looked like, Brentford can really run away with this. And now it's like back to default settings of the game.
But this free kick was a perfect example of why. He took the free kick, played it short, and it went back to him anyway in the exact same position the free kick was in.
It's a good ball from down.
It's got a nice build up. Play it wide. There we go. Oh. If that ball was going to come in like that, it should have just come in earlier anyway.
It was a bit too obvious, wasn't it? He cut inside, flat cross. We all knew what he was going to do there. Move still in. Okay, going to get a corner. That was probably our most positive flowing move of the last 10, 15 minutes, I'd say.
Like some possession and, And
we used both channels, right? When the cross got blocked on the left-hand side, we brought it back over. won a corner on the right-hand side. It's good to try to stretch the pitch a bit because we've got players that can do that. And we've just been boxed in, right? We've been boxed into our own half for the last 10 minutes. Now, can this corner be better than the last disaster?
I think it could be worse, so let's go. There's always that. Oh, it is better. It was just like bad timing, I think, on that part.
Yeah, I think we won the first header there, but yeah, as you said, it didn't really go anywhere. I think if it ended
more control and possession by Brentford.
Yeah, we need more of that. And if it does end 1-1 this half, I think both managers will feel they can win the game. And if you're Arteta, you want to try and get another goal before half time because that would suddenly we're under big pressure. And
I think that's what I mean. That's the situation Arsenal is in. I mean, I think, Liverpool are going to go out, even if it's a draw, to play for the win and stuff. But it's like there's more of a desperation if Arsenal gets a draw away right now, being so many points behind. I think that's like a psychological difference.
Yep.
There's no urgency from Brentford on those like throw-ins and set pieces to get going quickly. Yeah. That's that hubris. That's that thinking that you can construct a goal out of nowhere against Arsenal. And I don't think many teams can do that, let alone Brentford. If there's a gap, take it. That's how they got their goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, there needs to be a bit more intensity and sharpness. Yeah, absolutely.
I have a feeling we're going to see a slightly different Brentford in the second half. I think Thomas Frank sees what we're talking about. You hope, if he's a smart coach, but which he is. And
I am so sick of this catching a fucking finger and acting like they died.
Yeah. Pedro Neto is one of the worst for that, isn't he?
To be fair, I think his teeth are bleeding, but
he should be using fluoride toothpaste more often than. I'm not sure gingivitis is a reason to stop a game.
VAR checks his toothpaste. Yeah, he's caught his little lip, I think.
What happened? Did he get a red?
No, I don't think so.
I know he's walking away like pouty. Yeah, I mean that's not even intentional. It
barely even touches him. Yeah, we've seen this, right? We've seen a lot of. In this case, it's slightly different because he is bleeding, but we've seen a trend in the last week or two of the Premier League over the Christmas break about players going down, kind of clutching their head or whatever when other teams are on the break, which has been really. Arsenal have done it, Chelsea have done it a couple of times, and it is frustrating. I
know we've all been like hit in the head at one point or another, right? Some of us more than others, probably Mecca, but and but I think I have never been hit on the head so bad. Usually, when you have a head injury, it's you don't move as much. You're just holding your head, trying to put your brain back to where it should be, kind of a deal. Like rolling around on the ground with a face injury just seems so fake to me because that's not even a natural.
Yeah, well, and it cheapens these serious injuries, like head injuries, as we know, is something that the game needs to take more seriously. That obviously has long term, hugely detrimental effects for players, and by play acting and pretending you have a head injury, which means the referee rightly needs to stop the play when you've maybe been brushed on the cheek or caught on the chin or something. It really frustrates me because A, it's cheating and it stops breaks. But B, more importantly, actually, the players who cried wolf, actually, it's not good for people who do have head injuries because referees are going to be more likely to be skeptical of them. So yeah, it's just something we've seen a trend of this winter break for my job.
But accumulating slowly, to be honest with you, it's almost like the new people are like players are more and more getting professional with the rule, and it's disappointing because the intention of the rule, the head injuries and stuff, is a very good one, but you kind of could tell, and you can never tell, like who's faking the injury and who's not. You can't gauge like, oh, he got hit on the cheek softly or hard, So they're gonna stop the game, and it's just it's disappointing how it's abused, I guess, more than anything else. But
Definitely.
probably not surprised that it is being abused.
I've actually seen 2 on-field proper concussions as a coach. One was a senior player who went in for a slide tackle, and both players missed the ball and headbutted each other in the slide, like bang. And like both of them just looked up, and like they had 1,000 yards there, like they were like seeing into time and space. And there was no like a nuclear bomb could have went off and they would not have been aware. And the second one was a high school female player who went up for a header and landed on her head and then wobbled around the field for like 2 minutes. And this was before we did anything in soccer about head injuries.
Yeah.
And you had to have the game stopped because she literally was walking in circles, like she had one leg pinned to the ground. Like you can tell a genuine head injury, which is why they might start thinking, soccer might start thinking of doing what I think they do in rugby union, where the physio can run onto the field as play is going on, as long as they're not interfering in the play. For head injuries.
Huh?
I'd rather run on a soccer field now as a physio than a rugby match, to be fair.
True.
But they'll have to do something because it's gonna negatively impact the game to have stoppages for head injuries that aren't. So maybe even an extreme rule, whereas if you come off for a head injury, you're off. That's it. Even if it's only a suspicion of them.
Yeah, well, that would stop people diving pretty sharpish, wouldn't it? Yeah, I've had a concussion too, and it's absolutely horrible. I was much younger, but this is what I mean. These are really dangerous things, right? And yeah, you've seen a couple, Macca. So, when players take advantage of a rule that's there to actually safeguard players, it is irritating. So Arsenal just playing it around in our kind of final third once again.
Brentford seems a little panicky for the numbers they have in the back. It's almost like they're antsy to get it, and so they can counter. Whereas like a team like Forest will be just very content sitting there, and whenever it happens, it happens. It's almost like Brentford wants to go out, so they're a bit more antsy defending, just like watching them. Or is it regular?
The difference is those Forest have their plan and they stick to their plan and they don't care what anybody says about their plan. Whereas I have a feeling sometimes Thomas Frank wants to be known to be a good possession coach as much as anything else. So the players have that crossed message of, we're going to hit on the counter, we're going to press, but also we're going to play the ball around the back. And it's confusing for players. That's why
that's fair.
The whole like playing out from the back thing. If it's not your thing, don't do it just because everybody else says you should. David Moyes got killed by that at Man United. Killed by it. If he'd just played the way Everton played, he wouldn't have lost as many games at Man United. It would have been horrible to watch for Man United fans. Look what's happened to
United way.
It's tricky though as well, right, Macca? Because as we've been talking, Flecken tried a quick free kick. A quick goal kick, should I say, from his hands. And, he just overhit it slightly. He's aiming for Mbeumo. He overhits it. It goes straight to Raya, right? And then Arsenal have possession again. So it feels we haven't quite found a flow. We've been overplaying at the back, but also going long hasn't been super, super helpful for us too. So it's going to be threading the needle the second half. And, overplaying it less at the back is going to be huge.
My suspicion is that if they just went for the direct play and kept Mbeumo up front all the time, then he'd be in the position to take advantage of those long balls.
Yeah, I agree.
He keeps having to drop back in, so now he's running to get into position as the ball is being played.
And that's tiring. That's fatiguing as well.
Yeah, he'll be shattered at the end of it.
Well, 1-1 at halftime. We'll step away for a few minutes, go get a new drink, get a sandwich, in terms of Mega, get a full course meal in, whatever it might be, and we'll be back for the second half. All right, all right, all right. We are back in action. Second half about to start. Everybody coming out. When do you think Mecca Arteta says, we got to win this and start making changes?
Go 60th minute or 65th minute or very, very much sooner if Brentford scored a second. I just want to make Glenn jealous here for a second. That was my snack during the break, Glenn. Knickknacks.
Knickknacks. Oh, I haven't seen them in a while.
What is it?
Old school. They're little knobbly, crunchy, spicy. They're like Cheetos almost, but not cheesy. They're like curry flavored Cheetos.
Are they like corn nuts, or are we talking like a?
But they're maize. Yeah, they're maize. They're made from maize.
Okay.
And barley. I never knew it was barley in them. But they're fantastic. I go old school with my snacking. I mean, I had 12 Yorkshire puddings as well, to be fair.
Oh, we got a Gunners fan in the watch along. I don't know. Let's see. How about you, Glenn? I mean, Brentford's. Does Frank change anything? Like go all in or go all back, if you will, to defend the draw? What does he do?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, as Mac has said, next goal will be pivotal in terms of changing tactics. I think we'll probably keep it as is, as long as we don't fall behind. I don't see us becoming more defensive without taking the lead. That wouldn't really make sense. And even with taking the lead, I also can see that just inviting more pressure. Be interesting to see if Kevin Schade comes on, right? German international now, scored a hat-trick for us a couple of weeks ago. As I said earlier, he's been starting pretty frequently as part of a front three, but with us playing two up front. I imagine Schade will come on maybe 65 minutes, 70 minutes to replace probably Wisser. And Matthias Jensen, one of our Danish superstars, is fit enough to be on the bench, which is promising. He's been out for a couple of weeks. So if he's fit enough to play, I imagine we might see him take maybe Yarmouk's place, maybe Janot's place, again, about 70 minutes. So those are the subs that come to mind. And as we know, it's all game dependent, right? If we take the lead, things will be switched up possibly. And if we need a goal, if we concede, then I imagine Schade will probably come on sooner rather than later.
I mean, every minute brings us to a nice, happy ending as far as like Liverpool fans are concerned. I don't want to get Maka too excited with happy endings over here, but yeah, I already saw you like you're like happy ending.
It's not that kind of a new year. Those are not the kind of resolutions I make.
Do you have New Year resolutions?
I don't. I don't.
Really, like none? You weren't like January 1st, man. I'm doing that.
I don't need a special day to go back on my word. I can do that every day. And I frequently do. Be interested to see now in the next 5 minutes what Brentford are deciding to do for the second half. Whether they're going to go more direct or whether they're going to keep trying to outpass Arsenal.
Yeah, hard to tell so far. It looks like about the same so far, right?
Yeah, it's been congested in the middle first 2 minutes. Mackie, you pointed to a few kind of tactical changes Brentford could and maybe should do. Interesting, we're seeing Wisser, we're sticking with it, right? Now we have 11 men behind the ball. Wisser and Mbumo are just outside our own defensive D. So that to me strikes me as same as the first 45 minutes to a T. It's been interesting, that a key part of our approach to this game defensively has been to drag the forwards back, and we've spoken about, as we've watched it, a couple of shortfalls to that, both defensively and attackingly. Right, it encourages overplaying, it encourages defenders. As you mentioned earlier, sometimes you don't want forwards in your own defensive area if you're a defender, and that was certainly led to the goal. And also, as we talked about in the first half, it's actually meaning we can't break as quickly as we'd like to. And I'd like to see, as you'd mentioned, Mackie, get Mbumo, or if Schade, if he comes on, and just stick them on the halfway line for the whole game. Nearly bouncing in a dangerous area from that corner.
Why did he let it go if it was a corner? I think he thought it was off of because he let that one go.
He did whistle let that one go. And
Yeah, like he could have just like
Yeah.
cleared it, but he just let it go, thinking it's a goal kick. And
a good example of a centre forward defending on his own line, right? Perfect evidence as we talk about it. So, as it stands, I'd be surprised if Arsenal, if we played this way for another 45 minutes. I think
given this
would
many corners,
encourage
man,
Arsenal. Yeah,
scares me.
yeah,
Especially like a needless one like this. These are the ones that usually
to get punished,
come to bite you in the ass. Like the needless foul set pieces and needless corners and stuff like that are the ones that.
Ooh, where's that
What
going?
the hell?
Oh, they've scored from it. What did you say? Word for word, that was appallingly defended. So they grouped the players at the back post. They all then ran to the front post. It was a deep corner, so it went right towards Flecken. And if I'm right from when we saw it live, I think he kind of juggled with it and maybe dropped it. And then it was
what did he do? What did the goalie do there? We haven't seen like the replay yet, but
I think if you watch Arsenal, what they do is they send some forward and some drop back to the back post. So like they're like a crossover runs across the keeper.
Here we go. Here's the replay. So, yep.
So player
kind of bunch towards the. Oh, Flecken goes to punch it and completely misses it. That's a really shocking
after that,
goal.
it's just pinball after that. Yeah, that's just poor.
Yeah, really, really, really poor goal defensively. And as you said, that's the ones it shouldn't have been a corner from a defensive point of view. Yeah, shocking that is. I mean, that's just kind of like a League Two goal, isn't it? Really, you just hoof in a ball to the crowded center, and people kick it until it goes in. Yeah, really disappointing. So both the goals. This is what's irritating from a Brentford perspective. Both the goals have been out of errors and have been really sloppy. Two really sloppy goals. Arsenal have not played their way through our midfield and passed it through our defenders. They've just, we have created these chances for them, which is super, super frustrating. So, yeah, really bad way to start the second half. Disappointing goal to concede. And Flecken, sadly, is very much at fault. And hey, I'm a goalkeeper. Crosses are my least favorite thing. I appreciate they're really hard. But, when you're at a Premier League level and you go for a punch and you completely miss the ball and it lands in the area, I mean, that is on you, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So,
I think it needs to be pointed out that Glenn is just, he's given Arteta the seal of approval that he's no better than a League Two manager when it comes to that.
Well, maybe our defending
about right.
Both the attacking and certainly our defending wouldn't look amiss at the bottom of League Two today, unfortunately. So, to the point you said at the start of the half, we are going to have to switch things up tactically in about 10 minutes because you can't be a goal down and defend with 11 men behind the ball. That's not going to be a way to play yourself back into the game. And
this is when it becomes a Brentford game, right? 3-3, 4-2, 4-1.
Yeah, really frustrating way to start the half.
Yeah, it just comes from like a comedy of errors, from giving up the set piece in the first place to a team that, if you want to defend them, the key is not give him set pieces.
I think part of it, though, is as much as this is to kind of flatter ourselves a bit as Liverpool fans, myself and Temujin, is that Thomas Frank is a very good organizational coach in terms of getting his team to play. Getting his team to play, but what he's not very good at, which slot is changing it up quickly and putting his pride aside and saying, okay, this is not working, now we have to do this.
Yeah, this is, I think, game over.
3-1, probably game done. Powerful volley from Martinelli.
Yeah, Spencer says, unfortunately, when Arsenal tied it, they did. You could kind of tell the initial, like the control they got, like the momentum switch. But I figured, the halftime would be a way to turn that off. I mean, this ends up being, if they kind of continue to finish this off, being able to pull this off, tough away game with what is Brentford complaining about? A foul?
I don't know. It looks like a good goal to me. Frustrating that Martinelli is completely unmarked in our own area, right? We have, 10 players behind the ball?
You've got 10 players in the box and one just at the edge of it.
Oh, they're complaining about Marino pushing him in the back. I don't think they're going to get that.
That's great volley, isn't it? Look at the swerve and dip and away from the goalkeeper. And
he didn't even see that. He just saw it.
No.
As it was going into the net, basically. Yeah, I don't see the VAR overturning that.
No, it's a perfectly fine goal. Yeah, disappointing again. And that, you know, that's how quickly games can change in the Premier League, right? When you play an
Yep.
elite position like Arsenal, and we've talked about this the entire stream, really, that they can hurt you if you overplay, and if you aren't quick enough to move the ball on, and within, you know, a couple of errors here, and suddenly we've gone from drawing the game to needing 2 goals to even equalize, which is going to be hard because Arsenal, as we all know, are one of the best defensive teams in the division. So, really, really disappointing way to start the half, and for us to concede 2 in a couple of minutes is a bit of a sucker punch, really. That second goal, well, the third one, but second of the second half is a real sucker punch, and they're on the attack again.
Yeah, this is like kind of like reeling right now. Well, Hassan says, can Brentford come back from 3-1 down? Spencer already said nope. What do you say?
With 11 men behind the ball, you know.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
He has to change something radical, and it would either become 3-2 and kind of make it a game, or I think it can get uglier as well.
It feels like Arsenal would be getting the next goal as it stands.
It's a 4-1 game right now as things stand, because you're 2 goals down. Playing out from the back with patience is not getting you the second goal back.
Yeah,
that's not very good game management from Thomas Frank right now. I mean, he should be switching to 3 at the back probably and putting numbers into the midfield.
I think the problem is that we're so constrained, Macca, in terms of personnel. This is the issue, at least defensively. Like, this is basically the only back 4 we could put out. We'd actually have a fit Premier League tested centre back to even come in.
You don't put a centre back in there. You put another full back so they can play out wide as well.
Yeah, it was tough though, because Ruslev and KLP, Lewis Potter, are 2 fullbacks, and like neither of them have ever played even as a part of a back 3 in that centre role. Like, they're both quick-ish, kind of quite gentle, shall we say, fullback. So yeah, I know what you mean. And I think if we had the personnel, and as we pass it literally straight to them.
My question though is you're 3-1 down. Like, at what point does it stop mattering where players usually play or what they can do? At what point do you want to win the game or tie it up? Do you know?
Yeah, it's tricky.
That's what I'm saying. Like sticking in like that kind of staying in the box, not the penalty box, but staying in the box.
Does damage control Mecca come into play there? Because this is a team. I mean, we want them to get points and stuff, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not like Brentford is in danger and stuff. Would Thomas Frank want to be like, let's go all in? 1-6 is the same as 1-3 kind of thing, and you don't want to get a demoralizing win at home. You go into damage control. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that point, and it's probably that's what I'm saying. That's the in the box thinking. But you've already exposed Arsenal for the first goal.
Yeah,
they're not. It's not like they're dominating the entire game in terms of, or they weren't until the half-time break, or the second half started. You know you can get at them. You're just not doing the things that worked the first time, because they're 2-1 down and they're still playing with 11 men in the box essentially to defend. And if you're Arsenal, that's great. We can keep holding this ball as long as we want, because there's nobody up there to cause us any issues around our halfway line. You know, so you got to take risks as a coach. You can't be thinking, well, I've only got fullbacks on the bench, or I don't have players that have played in the back 3. You have to decide, like, one way or the other. You can't sit there, like any coach can't sit there and say, well, we're only going to lose 3-1 now. You know, you lose. It doesn't really matter what.
But the risk you take, would it be a bit more of a less risk? Let's go that way.
Well, I mean, what you're doing now has conceded 3 goals after you held the lead.
But I don't know, if you're Frank, you're saying like it wouldn't if you weren't idiots in the back. You know what I mean? Like, if it wasn't for personal, like, individual errors, it's not the system or how we've lined up that's caused those goals. It's basically how we've executed them, which is what managers mostly go to, right? Execution. My system was right. We just didn't execute it, kind of deal.
Right, but then you change the people in the lineup, which he's not doing.
That's why I feel like, you know, he would give it a go, maybe with some substitutions in the next few minutes, Glenn. And then if that doesn't pan out, it doesn't pan out. It is what it is, kind of a deal.
Yeah. And I see what Macca means. Like, you know, tactically, it hasn't really worked. And it is, regardless of, I agree with you as well, that it's been individual errors, but even regardless of those, to take the lead, to put us under pressure, to look like we might get the second goal, right, when we're on the front foot with the Raya error that he just about salvaged. To go from that to have all that momentum and then to drop so deep and for some reason to play 11 men behind the ball for the following 45 minutes or however long it's been. And the fact is we have conceded 3 in that period. Like, yeah, no, it hasn't worked. And I agree with you, Mac, in the sense of like, yeah, things have got to be switched up and it hasn't worked out. It's tricky, yeah, because as I said, like it's hard to over emphasize how like constrained we are in terms of backup personnel defensively. But there are players on the bench, as I said earlier. Kevin Shard is one that would at least give Arsenal something different to think about. Right, Wissa hasn't really been in the game so far, purely really because of the system we've been playing. I think also the concern right now is that Arsenal also look like getting the 4th pretty much any minute. So if you wait any longer, I guess you'd agree, Mac, if you wait any longer to change things, well, 3-1's hard, 4-1's pretty much impossible. So you want to shake things up before Arsenal score another.
Yeah, before that
and
part
it's Sammy's
comes in.
limitation, right? Then it's a different game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a if you're gonna lose, you're gonna lose. Like Brentford aren't fighting relegation right now, so
But that's exactly why I feel like I know what you mean, but I wonder sometimes we've seen this before, right? Like we've heard damage control, a team that is mid-table and it's not in like relegation danger. Why really open yourself up and concede like have a 1-6 loss that now you're gonna have to carry psychologically for the next like month, whereas the 1-3 loss to Arsenal at home to Brentford is not like a what the hell is going on over here kind of a result. Does that make sense? Like I know what you mean. I feel like you should too, but I can also see the other side of it, the damage control side of it.
But here's the other side that I agree with you. But imagine you're those players and your manager, you're 1-0 up and you go 3-1 down and your manager doesn't make any changes and insists on playing with the system that caused you to lose so much. How much confidence do you lose in the manager, even temporarily, for the next game that he can't find solutions to the problem? Because I think that's from our perspective, that's one of the biggest things that caused Brendan Rodgers to lose the players so quickly after 2013-14 was that he didn't change things when things were going. Like, he didn't have a plan B. And he was on a hide, and we can all say he should have been fired after the 6-0 against Stoke, wasn't it? Not 6-1, 6-0. Gerrard's last game or whatever it was.
6-1, wasn't it?
6-1, yeah, I think it was 6-1. But he was never recovering from that because his ideas were ripped apart in one fell swoop. So if you're, I think Thomas Frank's players love Thomas Frank, but they're also egotists, as all professional players seem to be, and they all think I think Harry Redknapp said it once. Every professional player that's ever played professional football will blame everybody else for a loss before it comes to them. And I would imagine like they won't say we made mistakes to lose 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1. They'll say the manager made mistakes. So if you can show that you're trying to change something, then you're doing okay.
Oh, that was actually well played.
It's a nice idea. That was a really nice idea.
I think the ball just came over way too bouncing, didn't it?
Yeah. If it had been a cleaner cross, yeah,
that's kind of really tough. Like to make good contact to that ball that's coming like that.
Yeah, so that was in Mbumo cross, Wissa straight to the edge of the box.
Can Kelleher throw the ball like that?
And then a counter straight away with Raya pinging it. Pretty much 2/3 of the way up the field, and Flecken coming out to just about.
Can Kelleher do that, Mecca? Throw the ball over there?
Again?
Can Kelleher do the same? Throw the ball like that?
Kelleher played Gaelic football and hurling, so yes. But what like you're 3-1 down and he hasn't made a sub yet, Frank. He hasn't changed.
I find that kind of shocking as well, to be honest.
You're kind of saying to the players, okay, we've lost. This is the end of this, and I don't think that's a good message to send players, even if there's a context to it's Arsenal. You still want your players to be on side with you. So if you make even 2 changes, 2 subs, you're saying, okay, I believe in you guys. We can get this back.
Yeah.
Could you also flip it, Macca, and say that actually in terms of fitness, experience, whatever else, he's looking at the bench and saying, actually, I trust the players, the 11 players that are currently playing Arsenal. I trust that they are the best 11 players out to play them right now. And I don't think players off the bench are actually going to tangibly improve us. You could flip it and say that as well.
I'm going to flip it again. I'm going to Uno reverse it and say, if you're a player on the bench, you think you can change the game. Otherwise, why are you playing? You know what I mean? If he doesn't put you on, you're saying he doesn't know what he's doing. I could have scored a goal here, or I could have. You know what I mean? It's a constant cycle. That's why managers get paid a lot of money at that level, because they have got to do that high profile. It's such a like, people say management is easy, but it isn't. Like, you know, we wouldn't want to be in that position right now, would we? Well, Glenn probably would, because then if you manage a Brentford.
Yeah. I'm just really hoping we score as you complain about Frank's tactics, Macca. I'm really hoping we bang one in.
That
would make me really happy.
I like Frank's tactics. I'm criticizing his game management.
Yeah, no, some very fair points. I don't disagree with many of them. It's just a tricky,
and it's because I like him, I want them to change something.
I mean, I think like it's tricky for me, because I think if it's Liverpool, where we know the squad and, you know, who has played how many minutes and stuff like that, it's a bit easier. I think, you know, if it was Liverpool, Macca and I can be like, why don't we put this guy in? He didn't play midweek, he's rested, blah blah blah, or, you know, why don't we do this and stuff? Not knowing Brentford's squad as well and fitness, and when do they play next? Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday. We have
Saturday. Okay. And you know, that's another thing to consider, blah blah blah. So it's a bit harder, but I mean, it's hard to disagree with Macca in terms of like, wow, there's no changes yet.
Yeah,
we said, you know, 70 is a bit too late when you're 2 down. It would be one thing if you were 1 down.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
I think I just want to point out that, you know, we're all friends here and we're all just talking during a watch along, but for anybody who's seeing the game live, whoever took that free kick for Brentford has the tallest forehead in football. I don't know what his name was, but he has a massive forehead. He looks like the Meccan from Dan Dare. It's another old school reference for the.
He should be in the middle heading the ball, I would argue.
Yeah, really, he should be.
With that forehead being wasted as a taker. We just talked about this.
See, if Thomas Frank had better game management, he'd be on top of this.
Yeah, well, we've had a much brighter last 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, they pushed up the field for a start.
Yeah.
How much of that
is that Brentford? How much of that is Arsenal saying, okay, well, you guys come now, we'll counter. Raya will throw it to the...
Yeah.
Probably 50-50.
I agree, yeah. Yeah, this is fine for Arsenal, especially as they're so solid at the back. This was the trouble trying to break down Nottingham Forest at the G-Tech week or so ago. You know, we had so much of the ball just like this, you know, in pretty good areas, actually in better areas than this, but great interception there from the Arsenal defender. And they were just very willing to soak up the pressure because they backed themselves defensively. And Arsenal, as we all know, are a really solid team, and they're just not going to be intimidated by ceding some of the possession, especially if that's actually a tactic that can allow them to hit us in the break, which they're attempting to do now.
If I was Thomas Frank, I'd sub off any player that got nutmeg, because that's 2 in a game so far. Even if I only have 7 players left at the end, stop getting nutmeg.
Doesn't have a lot of guys that scare you up top with speed, though, do they? Martinelli, maybe?
Yeah, definitely Martinelli.
Yeah. I think Jesus can turn on the burners when he wants. When the gum disease isn't affecting his.
When it's time to cry, yeah, he can really turn them on, but. Yeah, definitely a lot more possession, but yeah, I mean, Arsenal will be more than happy with this.
Yeah, it's not doing much, so yeah.
It's kind of like what Arsenal was doing in the beginning of the game.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, precisely. I think it's just a case of, if we can get Damsgaard on the ball a bit more. He had a lot of the ball, right? First 20 minutes when we looked the most dangerous. It was no surprise that he was pulling the strings there. And he just needs to see a bit more of the ball. I do agree, obviously, that it's that some fresh legs would just be good. Thinking about Southampton as well is only a couple of days away. I hadn't even thought of that, actually, until you've mentioned it. It's tough when you have a smaller squad that is extremely injury ravaged, and the games are every 3-4 days. A lot of teams feel this way, of course. But
to be fair, it's Southampton.
except
who have looked a lot better, who have looked a hell of a lot better since they got rid of Russell Martin, who was as we discussed, was just not adapting his tactics, and they've surprise, they look much better without him. They gave Palace a pretty good game a few days ago. But it'd be good to see Kevin Schade with a bit more pace up front, probably for Wissa. If we're going to change anything tactically, then now's the time to do it in terms of formation. Give yourself 20 minutes for that to work. I think, as you said, we're approaching 70 minutes now, so it starts to get a little late because Arsenal don't concede 3 goals very often, let alone 2 goals in 20 minutes, right? So it's certainly time. In the time we've discussed this topic, it's certainly the bar has moved on in terms of I agree.
We haven't even brought you over to our side.
Yeah, it's been long enough that it's certainly time. Just to keep things fresh and
it's going to be Thursday by the time something happens. And you can tell Brentford is not a side that's as comfortable, breaking down with possession.
Yep. Nope, that's what we did in the Championship, and then we completely changed it up in the Premier League, and we've been a team that loves playing on the break, and it's worked against a lot of teams. But at home, to be fair, we've against teams we might be expected to do well against. We have dominated possession and played well. Okay, so we've got a double change here.
There we go.
Triple change.
So
triple change.
All right, Mac has had Thomas Frank's number. Mac has been texting.
Yeah, I've been texting him under the desk.
He's been making a line change.
So he's basically, listen to us. He's heard us long enough that he's like, all right, you wanted some changes, I'll give you them.
There must be some kind of a lag, though. It took like 50 minutes.
Yeah, well, it's because all 4 of them had to get up and ready. He wanted to do this.
He was still taking orders for the disco party afterwards.
So, it'll be interesting to see who's coming on and off. I imagine he does have one eye on Southampton at this point. So I wouldn't be surprised if a good player or two rotates out. Honestly, it depends how much Thomas Frank sees this as a fixture with 20 minutes left that we can score 2 goals in. Right? It seemed like there were a couple of younger players coming on, which is a symptom of a pretty raw bench, but B, maybe it's just getting some more people some experience.
And that's why it would have made more sense to do those 2 subs right away. And
2 then 2.
Out, use the other 3 for basically resting people.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a little bit more static than usual, but I can't stress enough that we have a full first team out at the minute, and a lot of those players are game changers, and a lot of those players can allow us to change formation and can allow us to do different things with game management.
As long as they're not back by the Liverpool game, I think we're okay with that.
Not looking forward to that one. That's for sure.
Yeah, this is the kind of team that I have more confidence in. I don't know what you think, Mecca. Like, playing a team like Brentford before would scare me a lot more than it does now, because we don't go all out and we won't be as susceptible to a team that counters well as we used to, like this time last year, for example.
Yeah, no, I think the old saying from my day playing in the 80s as a fullback, as a kid, was, you live by the trap, you die by the trap. And we played a very, very strict offside trap under Klopp. So you're always vulnerable to those counters, especially with against teams with speed. But as we've been discussing about Frank, Slot's a game changer himself. Like he's a tweaker, and I don't mean that in the Thomas Frank has it on his list way, but he changes the tactics according to the situation of the game, which is great. So I'm not worried about I'm not worried about teams anymore in that sense. I think Slot will always figure out a way. It's just a matter of how much damage can the other team do to us in the first half before he gets to bring the players in to sit them down and talk to them.
But even the way we start games seems a bit more secure.
Oh yeah, it is.
It's the counters as it used to be.
It's like I said, every game starts 0-0, every individual game, and that was never Slot's philosophy, like thought process. His always be, okay, we're 2-0 down, we better get going getting these 2 goals early. Oh look, we are actually 2-0 down now. But for Slot, I think it's just right, we've started off with no goals conceded, so let's keep that and then see what we can build on. And That's why he's only lost one game since he started. It's a different. He's a lot more risk averse in that sense than Klopp ever was.
And that's what another thing that gives me a lot of hope in the that could have been dangerous. A lot more hope in the title race that he's only lost one game. Also, like this is not going to be a team that loses multiple games. Draws, yeah, but it's still not. People are going to catch up 2 points at a time as opposed to 3 points at a time if we drop points, kind of a deal. So these people coming in, how much of a change? The fort. Well, I guess we're not crossing the ball anymore because the forehead is coming out.
And I think this is probably us. I think we would lean towards Frank focusing on Southampton here.
Throw in the towel.
Damsgaard's coming off. Van den Berg makes sense. He hasn't been fit for a few weeks. He's coming off. Maghoma. Yeah, Maghoma's coming on. He's young, very young centre-back, good talent, but has only played about 20 minutes in the Premier League, which was a couple of days ago. Jensen coming. So the two subs I said that would come on a little bit earlier, Jensen and Shardra coming on for Wissa and Norgard. The fact Norgard, Damsgaard, Van den Berg have come off suggests to me that this is us just saying, let's just see out the next 15 minutes and focus on Southampton away.
That was impressive nose rockets there, my player.
Yeah, but good to see Jensen on. Good to see Schade, a little bit of experience, and also nice to get some younger players, involved with the first team. It's just a little bit frustrating.
Here's the thing, though: if Brentford score early from these subs, does he go for it then still?
Well, I think he'd tell he'd have to tell the 11 that are out there now to go for it, absolutely. But it's a good question. I mean, we've still got Brian and Boom on. But yeah, the fact Damsgaard's come off is probably the clearest indication that we're thinking about the next game. But it's been a pretty decent, positive last 15 minutes or so, as we said. Plenty of the ball, bit of control, but this is a consequence of Arsenal feeling really comfortable, right, with their 2-goal lead with 15 minutes left. If it's a 1-goal lead, right, I think Arsenal will be pressing a little bit more energetically.
Yes, I think so too.
They're happy for us to have the ball right now. It doesn't. We've had it on the halfway line for a fair bit of time. It's just like, that's great. Give us a rest. We've got another game coming up soon. Just pass it around. So it's a shame that the third goal, probably for most of the people watching this perspective, especially in the comments, that seemed to be the kiss of death for it as a contest, and nothing we've seen so far has changed that perception.
The interesting thing is,
aside from the goal and the raw error, Brentford has not created a whole lot either. I mean, they've done a good job of stopping the counters from even happening. I expected Brentford to be able to create, in the first half even, more off of the counters when Arsenal had possession. So Arsenal's credits, and they are kind of doing you get in the 15 minutes as well. Macca's favorite Rice is coming in. That Irish lad, right?
Yeah, traitor. He gets injured.
I'm actually shocked to see him coming in and being risked.
But here's the interesting thing, though, is if Brentford do pull one back, do Arsenal try and hold on to the 3-2, or do they start pressing again? And if so, does Brentford use that space then, now that there's fresh legs on the field and they've opened up the game a little bit?
You would think Arsenal would psychologically, if it becomes 3-2, they would try to psychologically hang on for dear life, wouldn't they? Despite whatever tactics or direction you're given, sometimes players, the psychology takes over tactics, and then you kind of defend for your life.
Unless you're Everton.
Okay.
Then your entire psychology is just waiting for the booze.
The psychology is defending, so it's nothing is changing then. Yeah, I mean, you can kind of tell even the sequence right there, the way they backed off instead of going, running at the goalie like they were in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and it's a shame, even from a neutral perspective watching, right? For the Liverpool fans, it's frustrating because there's a good chance of Arsenal dropping points is kind of extinguished. And then from the neutral, just to enjoy the game, first half was much more end-to-end, right? Even though we didn't create a huge amount of chances, there were certainly a lot of flashpoints. As soon as Arsenal got that quick double within about 6-7 minutes, the second half started, really took the gas off the contest. And, the game's been played pretty much exclusively in the middle third for about 20 minutes now, hasn't it? It seems to be where the ball is glued just around the halfway line.
Yeah, right where we're at right now.
Yeah, it's a camera angle.
Forth.
We've seen a lot the last 20 minutes. So, from an entertainment perspective, it's kind of fizzled out. From a competitive standpoint, it's, we haven't really offered a huge amount. Yeah, and you're right. We haven't created a huge amount of chances beyond that potential David Raya error. And considering he should have dealt with that comfortably anyway, we haven't actually created much at all.
Yeah,
so,
that's another thing, right? I mean, we kind of like blame them for the goal. The rebound should probably never happen, the one that he had to clear off the line, if he handles it properly. So it's been kind of Raya has helped made it more of a game than maybe it was. I thought, Brentford would be able to create more on the counter, and being 1-0 would really favor them because of that. But it felt like just they couldn't take advantage. And then once it's 1-1, the momentum switches.
And we just, as we've been saying, and Mac has been saying the whole game, we just, when we took the lead, we decided 11 behind the ball was the best way. That seemed to be the tactics from the first minute to the last. That seemed to be defend very deep. But as we've talked about on here, it's tough to put any pressure on Arsenal then, really, because there's no out ball. You get camped in your own box.
Yep.
And basically it's blunted our best method of attack, which is lightning quick breaks, which is using transition moments, right? Which is just how we scored the goal, which is Damsgaard breaking up an attack, passing it to Brian Mbeumo, and he scores a really nice finish, right? So we actually kind of restricted ourselves from even doing that by having so many players defending in our own box. And yeah, tactically it's a little bit curious from Thomas Frank, especially when you see that it's an Arsenal team that's not at its best, its first 11. There is a bit of rotation, bit of illness maybe. That did open the door a little bit. And the fact we took the lead, I think I do appreciate Macca's frustration there in terms of tactically and game management wise. We weren't 3-0 down, then we scored one at the end. We did lead the game. We had a real chance to shape the rest of the match, right? The following 70 minutes, we had the chance to be in the driving seat in terms of setting the tempo and shaping that and putting Arsenal under pressure. And the fact we didn't take advantage of that window will probably be a disappointment for the fans and probably the players as well.
Kind of Brentford in a nutshell, though, as a fan who watches them regularly, where it's almost naively open at times, or how should I put it? Like, it's not. There's one style. We just roll like this. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? But we haven't really. I wouldn't say that we've put so many players behind the ball in other similar encounters, right? We've had this very hard run of away games. But I mean, it's tricky. Yeah, when we've taken the lead, we have seemed to defend a bit deeper, of course. And the Fulham game was a really, really bad example of how not to hold on to a lead when we defended deep for so long and they scored 2 in added time, which honestly they very much deserved. Yeah, it's been interesting. I think. Could be a chance here. Could be a chance. Long throw to the back post. Raya just about gets hold of it. That was a half chance.
Was that one of the subs?
When you go at Arsenal, they don't seem very confident back there either. That's why it's a shame that
Was that one of the subs that took that throw?
Yeah, Kevin Schade found he's got a decent long throw the last couple of games. It's a pretty new revelation. I think he took his first one in the cup against Newcastle just a week or two ago. Because the players, surprise, surprise, who take our long throws, particularly Ethan Pinnock and Jensen, who's on now, they've been injured, so we actually haven't had that in our armory as much this Christmas fixture list.
Because this is what I'd be thinking if I was Frank, is just keep sending that ball down that side and try and get bounces off Arsenal players' legs if you needed to get throw-ins, because that was a bloody good throw.
And I think the frustration for us is that we haven't made it hard enough for Arsenal to defend. Yes, they've been good, but I'll tell you what, we made it much harder for Nottingham Forest. We were pretty relentless with crosses and passes and stuff, and credit to them, they held on. We haven't, beyond the goal and that chance with the error we were just talking about, we haven't really troubled Arsenal much or put them under pressure. And as you said, they looked a bit shaky from that long throw. So I think it is a little disappointing that we couldn't get a run of maybe 10 minutes. We just pepper the box. And honestly, not to keep going back to injuries, but, Igor Thiago, our record signing, 30 million forward, we bought big guy, bulky guy. He would have been a really, really good option to have for this game to really try and cause Saliba and Gabriel a bit of physical issues, because they've had quite a nice day so far beyond conceding. We haven't really managed to trouble them as much, especially as we're at home. That's probably a slight disappointment as well.
The lesson there is never buy a player called Thiago.
I was going to say that was already that you should have seen that coming. Thiago and Keita, you just avoid those names moving forward. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, Arsenal's kind of wrapping this up a bit comfortably. I mean, if this was us, I would be like, that worked out great. Got some rotation going, tough away win, out of the way, 3 points, move on, kind of a deal.
Yeah, great day if you're an Arsenal fan. I mean, yeah, really. They've looked good. They've looked solid. They've looked very dangerous going forward. But yeah, it's been a shame not to just give them more to think about defensively, right? For example, with the long throw, suddenly we've tried something different, and it's panic stations. It would have been nice to have had more opportunities.
I don't know
to do
if
that.
Arsenal, they've definitely been under control. I think if we do this as Liverpool, we say, hey, we had the game under control. Even these last 15, 20 minutes,
oh yeah,
they've given the ball, but they've kept the control, it feels like. So
yeah, because we've got the ball in perfectly safe. We've had the ball in our own half for a fair amount of that time, right? And
yeah, the heat map has to be between your guys' box and midfield
and the center circle. That's it. That's where the game's been played for 20 minutes now. So yeah, very smart from them, from Arteta. It's just like, give up that possession. And, they are such a well-coached team that even out of possession, they're hard to break down, right? Even in our own half is what I mean. You're looking at the screen now. They have 6 players in our half, blocking out the space. The passes we're making are centre-back to centre-back. I mean, that's going nowhere.
Let me just point out, though, the reason they're doing that is because you're not going long. You're not threatening them at all, so it's easy for them to do that. Whereas if you pop a few over the top, now they have to start dropping players back.
Yeah,
and that's the issue, is just trying to play out the back all the time when it's not necessary.
And really, those center backs do not try those, even if it is not long. They haven't even tried like a pass in between the lines or anything like that. It's just like, nobody's taking that chance. They don't want to give up the counter, which, mind you, it's like 3-1. So it's been kind of cruise control at this point for like Arsenal. So King staff is happy in the comments because Arsenal is winning. I mean, yeah, like I say, if it was the other way around, I would have taken this. I'm actually almost like shocked that they didn't make more of these kinds of subs earlier to get even more rest, knowing they're going to play again in like 3-4 days. Are they away to Brighton or home Brighton?
They're away to Brighton. It's a tricky game.
Yeah, that kind of like, we have a Forest and Brentford away back-to-back. That's kind of like let's see what comes out of that kind of fixtures for me, Mecca. I feel like 6 points from that would be immense.
Yeah, no, it'd be great for Arsenal. I still think they have a blip somewhere after the Christmas again. I don't see them going on the kind of run that we Liverpool fans have been afraid of City going on for so many years after Christmas. I don't think that happens for Arsenal. I think there's enough limitations in Arteta's style that teams can catch them out. I kind of hoped it would be Brentford, because I thought Frank's style is tailor-made to cause problems for Arsenal, but they didn't do anything to cause problems for Arsenal other than the goal. But for Arsenal, I think if they get 6 points, it's great for them between this game and Brighton. But I don't think they're capable of putting that kind of a run together after that. There's going to be a bad result in there for them. And they need to play us as well at some point soon, don't they?
I mean, the thing, and I think, the biggest thing was when we were talking like title contenders and stuff like that, my thing was more Arsenal, like when it was Chelsea, Arsenal and stuff. One of the things that Chelsea had going for them was we were going to go away in the second leg, whereas Arsenal is going to come to Anfield. So that's a huge advantage, I think, where they will need 3 points from that game, most likely. And that's not a place you want to come having to win. I know that fixture is. So how long is Saka? 2 months? Is that what that is?
March, we were hearing maybe, but
yeah.
unclear. Yeah, big loss, but clearly had more than enough talent in Martinelli and co to brush us aside. Really, today it's probably been comfortable for about 80% of the game at this point.
Yeah,
so
I think so too.
Worthy winners and just very well organized, and they
expected more out of the game as a whole. Well, this could be good right here if he brings it down. That's the problem when you have, subs, and sometimes is maybe normally that would have been a pass, but they try to over impress, if you will.
It's a good cross. Yeah, just a shame we couldn't string a few more moves, even if they've been a little bit fractured there. But it's not great quality. But it's just a shame we couldn't put the ball in the Arsenal box.
I mean, you do that 2-3 times. Eventually, the ball is in there, or you caused an error and stuff like that. It's just like it's not like they just didn't take as many changes.
But I think like the narrative shouldn't be that Arsenal dominated Brentford. Brentford were the agents of their own misfortune pretty much 3 times.
Yeah.
No, again, it's 2 things that never help you when you're not the superior team. One of them is playing out from the back, and one of them is playing 11 behind the ball when you have a 1-0 lead really early in the game. Like it's just I think Glenn has a fair point to say with the full force team. With the full force, that was a nice cross in. Just maybe a bit too much pace on it for that header. But with a full force team, maybe it's a different game. But you still have to go for it. You still have to give yourself a chance to win, regardless.
Yeah, I agree.
That was if that big forehead guy was on the field for that one, that would have been.
I think it's almost like they respected Arsenal a bit too much, maybe.
Yeah, it looks like we played. I think the bottom line is it looks like we played within ourselves a little bit today, which is always a letdown for the fans or just people like us, just watching and talking about the game. It's when it feels like you've left something out there, or you've just haven't attacked the game to the standard you can. That's kind of just how it feels. It just feels like we just didn't quite get our groove and get on the front foot when we have the ability to. That was the disappointment, I think. And we showed that with the goal. We showed that we can trouble them. We showed that we have quality. Everyone knows this. G-Tech is, once again, another 4 goals at the G-Tech, right? It's just a place where goals fly in every single week. And when we get on the front foot, we can trouble any team. There's no surprise we've taken the lead against some of the best away from home this season. But, as Mac is alluding to, really, it's just tough when you follow that up by playing very defensively, not changing things up quick enough. It is tricky. And honestly, individual errors, that's the third thing we've seen today. That's been really, it's been playing out from the back. It's been 11 men behind the ball. It's also been a couple of individual errors that have just really made this a lot easier for Arsenal than it needed to be after the first
exactly
minutes, right? That's probably
when you sit back that much, you're almost eventually, people are gonna make those errors. Like if you sit behind the ball that much and invite the pressure, if that ball is coming into the box that many times or in and around the box, somebody's gonna make a mistake.
Yeah.
If it's not something you do week in, week out, and you're used to, and you know what the different situations are, then that's what happens. Like Forest can do that because they train that every single day. So they know what the different scenarios are, but Brentford don't. We're like they're a very high pressing team, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gav, but like Thomas Frank usually plays a more aggressive game than that. That was today. Like that was just passive almost.
Yeah. It was quite an un-Brentford like, I think, setup, which was slightly surprising, I think. And honestly, it's probably, also a symptom of, you play so many games in this Christmas period. It is really hard to attack each of them to the extent that you want to, especially when the opposition is as well drilled as Arsenal, as the game is just petering out to a close here. And and again, it was that double punch, right? If we could have kept it at 2-1 for another 15, 20 minutes, if it was 2-1 approaching 70 minutes, the fact that they scored 2 goals in such quick succession, you silence the home fans then, right? GTX 9, great atmosphere, really, really great environment for the Brentford team to thrive. And the second you see your team concede twice in a couple of minutes, it just takes the wind out of everyone.
Yeah, it becomes a library in there.
Yeah, and everyone's probably had a nice New Year's Eve anyway. They're probably not feeling their best as it is. So when you see a team kind of throw it away like that, it's hard to bring that excitement back.
Yeah, it's been a shame, especially the way it started. It was very hopeful that it could have turned out really good. I know, like, in some ways, it puts the pressure back. Takes the pressure, a little bit of the pressure, I think, off Arsenal. But then again, like I said, they have a tough game as well. I know on paper Liverpool have an easier game because it's United and stuff. But then again, it is United. It's the rivalry and stuff. You guys will be on tomorrow night, Mecca.
Yes,
with the gang. I'm sure you guys will analyze the hell out of the game over there. And 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. The gang will be on hating on Nunez and previewing the game, I'm assuming.
That's a New Year's resolution. That's the one resolution I'll make.
I mean, that's a safe resolution because it's just continue
it's
as
the same
you
one.
are.
I wake up every day and do an affirmation of I will destroy Nunez.
Well, Glenn, thanks for joining us, man. I know we kind of were hopeful. It's more of a disappointment to you. We're making it sound like it's a bigger disappointment to us, even though you're a Brentford fan. But
no, it's great to watch it with you guys. It was really fun to, see how the game panned out, and just feel a little bit deflated that we couldn't keep even as a contest. The first half was just so much more like more edge of your seat, right? A bit more end to end, even if Arsenal were a bit more dominant. So, the fact that we couldn't keep it as entertaining in the second half was a bit of a letdown, and the fact that we couldn't really just dig our heels in and get a foot on the ball in any meaningful way was just a little disappointing. But you know what? It is Arsenal. They're going to be right at the top of the table come May for a reason. They're a really good team, and they showed even if they can rotate a couple of players, they can still do enough away from home at a really hard place. So, credit to them, and just a bit frustrated about our approach and the individual errors, because I think we could have made it more of a contest if you switch.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest disappointment. I thought even if it wasn't Arsenal, like a game, like a Brentford game is usually, it's like Spurs, right? You're going to see a lot of action and attacking and movements and fast pace and stuff like that. I think overall it was more of maybe that's the Arsenal effect. And then, you got to give them credit for controlling the pace and not letting Brentford making it a fast pace game.
Us.
That does not suit Arsenal at the end of the day. Probably suits Brentford more. But thanks to all those joining us. Like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. A lot more coming over whether you like it or not, a lot more coming over your way this year. Tune in to see more of Mecca tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. And we'll see you guys then. Take care.